and welcome in to the first edition of the Varsity Voices podcast presented by Spire, a production of the State Championships Radio Network. I'm your host, Breck Riley, voice of the Kosciuszko Whippets, and while we're here, we'll go ahead and throw it around to see who all is going to be with us throughout these next 15, however many weeks leading up to the state championships in Starkville. So first up, we will go with, I guess, the guy who's the brainchild behind all of this, and he's the owner, operator, CEO, everything. Jared Schatz, the voice of the Germantown Mavericks. Jared, tell us how you came up with this.
Guys,
what's up with the podcast, man? How did this all come about?
Well, I mean, just working with you guys over the years, we've had a lot of people ask for more coverage, more content, and this was the way that we kind of brainstormed and came up with a podcast that we'll do weekly. And we said, what's going to be our first episode? What can we do to give the people what they want? And how about crowning the Blue Bloods of Mississippi high school football? Not only crowning the Blue Bloods, but ranking them 1 through 220. So what better crew to do it than these guys?
Yeah, I don't think anyone else has ever done that before. Like you said, going 1 through 200 and however many it is. So that's what we're doing here on this first podcast. And also on the call with us is going to be Brandon Davis, the voice of Warren Central Vikings. Brandon, appreciate you being here. And, hey, we're glad you're representing, the southwest portion of the state and the River City and the red carpet area.
Yeah, glad to be here. I did public address for 9 years, going over full-time to radio. My mama, when she would hug me when I was young, she told me I had the face for radio. I didn't know what she means and still don't, but just glad to be converting over full-time radio. Glad to be here with you. You talked about Jared Schatz. He probably could have found a better panel to help him do this, but I'm just honored to be a part of this circus with you guys.
And before we get on over to another one that was the brainchild behind the metrics and everything, we want to tell you this is our pregame show, and this is our pregame. We're setting up our podcast like a football game. We got pregame, first quarter, second quarter, halftime, third quarter, fourth quarter, and overtime. And our pregames are brought to you by Sizemore Catering in Oxford Falls. Free shipping on all orders over $100. You can visit them at theoxfordfalls.com. So let's bring in the best hair in the business, the voice of the Brandon Bulldogs, and starting this year, Hines Community College, it's Jake Wimberly. Jake, tell us, first of all, welcome to the podcast, and tell us about the metrics and how all this, there's a lot of numbers in there, and I'm not a numbers guy, you are, so tell us all about how we came to these rankings.
Well, guys, this is one of the funnest things that I'm looking forward to doing, that we do with radio and TV and all the things that we do. Look, all of us here, we have a common, well, one, we're all friends. So we've been able to develop a great rapport together. Two, we all love high school sports, and we love our schools, and we love our kids. And that's what we're doing here, is we're trying to, do more with our kids, do more with our schools, our coaches, to try to highlight that. And that's the purpose of what Jared has here. And I know that we all have that same embodiment here. What's fun about this is we're able to take a bunch of different ideas and kind of throw it on the table. We're going to give the public an opportunity to take a look at it and say, hey, yes, this makes sense. It's okay if it doesn't make sense. If you disagree with it, that's perfectly fine. We want your opinions. That's what we want to do, is cultivate opinion on this. So, when we looked at it, and Jared and all of us have looked at it for several months and said, how can we come up with a method to where we can rank all of the teams in the state of Mississippi, that have been, through the MHSAA, and say, who's the greatest program of all time? So, we took several things, and there were several things that we looked at, from wins and losses and winning percentage, state championships, district championships, conference championships, winning seasons, losing seasons, 10-win seasons. All of this stuff matters because we talk about it on social media, playoff appearances and playoff wins and losses, and so much more data, and said, hey, let's put this into a hopper. Let's really get this thing down to, kind of a nitty gritty and kind of into an algorithm. That's what we've done here. This is an imperfect science, but it's one that we feel really good about, and we're glad to be here to share that with you.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it's Mississippi. Everyone thinks their program's the best, and some have a little bit more bragging rights than others. But this does its best to cut through the bias and just kind of go with the by the numbers point of view. So as you said, people can disagree, and trust me, they will disagree. They're yelling in the comments right now. But as we said, this is what we're trying to do, is get a mathematical, cutting right through all of that bias and going with the numbers. And so, as you said, state championships, district championships, playoff win percentage, playoff wins. We even, Jared and I went through conference championships. We went back to, like in the 1970s, they had you guys are, Jake, you're from the Florence area. They had the Little Dixie Conference and the Big Eight and the Little Eight up here in my neck of the woods. They had the Choctaw Conference and the Cherokee Conference and the Mid-Mississippi Conference. Schatz and I, we went through all that. We went back, and that's kind of thrown in to the mix. And so it's got a lot of numbers. And one thing we want to mention is that MHSAA programs only in this, right? Because obviously we're the State Championships Radio Network. We broadcast the MHSAA State Championships, so we only ranked the MHSAA teams, and some of them, like if they recently joined maybe the MHSAA, they might not be in there because there's just not enough data of history for them in their current, playing in the MHSAA. So if your team's not there or whatever, it's not because we hate your team or anything like that. It's just, as we said, it's all mathematical at this point, and that's what we are trying to do. So if no one objects, I say we kick right off with the first quarter. Everybody good?
Let's go. Yeah, let's go. This is going to be fun.
Hey, I want to add one thing, Breck, just to let the state of Mississippi know. These stats go back to the late 1800s. Because that's when a lot of these schools started playing, some in the early 1900s. But as you said, we went back to conference championships, and a lot of these folks have really jumped conferences over the years, kind of like college football with the conference realignment. It's been happening over public school football for a while, but these stats go way back. We tried to accumulate as much as possible. So without further ado, baby, let's go.
We don't treat cancer or design breathtaking buildings or slow cook the town's most talked about barbecue. That's all you. You're the ones who create and astonish, game and laugh, who come together and imagine a safer, more connected world. The things you do inspire us every day. So much so, it's right there in our name. Customer inspired. See Spire. Inspired by you.
She had a good coach that pointed her in the right direction, and we were able to get to her quick enough, and she's young and healthy enough that she's going to have a great outcome.
I would say the biggest difference is just how Dr. Moss explained everything. I went into my second surgery knowing exactly what after surgery was going to look like, what during surgery was going to look like, and it just made me feel a lot more comfortable and confident with my outcome.
Let's go. And there's the kickoff into the first quarter, brought to you by Mississippi Sports Medicine, your go-to team for orthopedic care in Mississippi. So who is number 10 in our list? It is the McGee Trojans, a 3A, squad. They're one of those teams that, a lot of history that you see them in at number 10 and you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. They were probably the favorite last year, but in the South, Noxubee County got them, or whoever it was that got them out of the South last year. And so McGee coming in at number 10, and we've got some numbers on the McGee Trojans. All-time wins 703 to 362 losses. Their winning percentage is at 66. How about this? 5 state titles for the Trojans of McGee. They got 18 district championships, 8 conference championships, 77 winning seasons to just 20 losing seasons. And they have 10 winning seasons, 37 playoff appearances, 56 playoff wins, 32 playoff losses, and their playoff win percentage is at 64. So, guys, thoughts on the McGee Trojans coming in right there at number 10?
Well, I'll say this first is let's keep this in kind of a relative thought process. And Jared and I have talked about this. I know we've all talked about this, over the summer in our text group, is what we think we may know about these teams is front facing. So we think, okay, this team X, they've done so much over the last 5 years. Oh, they should be at the top. Well, then when you kind of really start going through this data, it doesn't work out that way. So you reference McGee, Breck. I mean, this is a team that has been a powerhouse for a long 703 wins. I mean, that is a lot of wins. 18 district championships, 8 conference championships. They've had 77 winning seasons. Now, they've had some times where they've been out kind of in the, in the desert of high school football. But this is a big time program. You're talking about a team that plays annually in the Simpson County Super Bowl with Mendenhall. Big time program here at number 10. I love McGee and look the history of what they do there in that town.
To me, I think, like Jake's saying, what I love about this is the human emotion is taken out of this. Because I would put McGee higher up the list just because of the history that they have. Small community in central Mississippi, north of Hattiesburg, for those of you who don't know where it's at. And they are all in on their football team and just a fantastic program. I mean, we're talking about looking at the golden era of some of these teams here, and you look at McGee, and it has to be, in my opinion, in the 1990s, Jake. From 1990 to 1999, they won 94 ball games, only 27 losses. And also, they had a state title in 1997. And if you wanted to technically count, back in 2000, they won a state title. They went 13-2 to start the new century. But this is a team that, to me, and that's why I like the human emotion being taken out of it, because I would put them a lot higher in the list than what we currently have them. But just a great program. The community really buys into it. And I know we'll talk about it in a moment, but there has been a lot of great coaches that have come out of this program.
Guys, the number one thing that sticks out about McGee for me is they are only, and they don't get a lot of love for this. A lot of people don't realize this. They are only one of 5 programs with over 700 wins. And they're the one that's forgotten. And I think that was the stat that stuck out the most to me about the Trojans. They have been a very good program for a very long time.
And as Brandon mentioned, we'll get some of their notable coaches here. Jimmy Mangum, of course. You start talking about the Mangums there in Simpson County and McGee, and all of the pedigree that they have. He went 52-29, and then Perry Wheat, how about 28-6? So yeah, some pretty good records there. But I think what Jared mentioned, having over 700, that's unheard of. 700 wins, and their first team dates all the way back to 1926. So what this would be this is going to be their 100th season coming up, right? This, considering they played one every year, right? That they didn't take a year off or anything. So that's the McGee Trojans coming in at number 10, and of note, currently they are a 3A team. And that's one thing that I wrote down somewhere on one of my sheets here, is that there's a lot of parity in between the classifications. Obviously, towns get bigger and smaller over the year, so some teams start in 1A and they might be 3A or 4A now, but that was one that was very, very interesting to me. So that is McGee at number 10. Any objections before we move on to number 9? Anybody got anything?
I think McGee is going to be a favorite to get the 3A state title game this year. With like you talked about it, they lost to Noxubee in South State last year, 36-34. Chase Courtney, head coach there, they were 12-1. He's done a great job coming in on that program. So I know we're not talking about any type of preseason or season expectations, but I don't think McGee is going anywhere anytime soon as far as a powerhouse is concerned.
We're not talking about that just yet, but that could be coming up in a episode 2 or something like that. Maybe a little tease for you there. But let's roll on to number 9, and this is going to shock absolutely nobody at all. It is Tupelo coming in at number 9. They are the defending 7A state champions, 673 wins, 385 losses, 64 winning percentage, 2 state titles, of course, the one recently, 12 district championships, 6 conference championships, 75 winning seasons, 21 losing seasons. There's 16 10-win seasons, 35 playoff appearances, 34 playoff wins to 33 playoff losses. That makes for a 51% playoff winning percentage. So that is the Tupelo Golden Wave, and that's one of those guys that I think nobody is shocked about, the Tupelo Golden Wave being in there. Jake, we'll go with you first. You already, you saw Tupelo last year. Obviously, you're going to see them here in a few weeks again. So Tupelo is just, as I said, one of those teams that everybody kind of probably penciled into the top 10.
Guys, here's what's interesting about Tupelo, and this is not a slight at Tupelo. I would say on this list at number 9, underachiever. Think about this. Jarius Jackson was the quarterback at Tupelo in the early 90s. He was a big time recruit. I think he went on to Notre Dame, or at least committed to Notre Dame. I'd have to go back and look at the recruiting stuff on that. They had a time where they were in the wilderness, so to speak. What they have done now with Ty Harden, they have pulled themselves out of the wilderness. This is a big football program. Won a state championship, or played for a state championship, and won it in 2013. With Trent Hammond. This is a program that's been around. And again, they kind of remind me of Auburn in the SEC. And here's what I mean by that. Auburn's always either really good or they're not good. Tupelo is kind of the same way. They're really good or they're not. And of course, they're right now, they're going to be the preseason number 1 team in the state. They should be. Big program here at number 9. There's a lot of love, for Tupelo. Statewide, and it should be. And of course, you look at their fan base in that town; they love Tupelo, as they should. This is a big time program. A lot of history here.
Brandon, what do you think about the Golden Wave, which is a great mascot, by the way? I like they got like the little wave with putting his dukes up like that, right? That is awesome. What do you think about Tupelo there, Brandon?
I'm gonna swing the first punch at Wimberly. I love you, brother, but I was surprised that they were in the top 10. I'm not gonna lie to you. You said it well, Jake. They really were in the wilderness really from about 2000 till Trent Hammond got there, 2013, 2014 timeframe, 2013, excuse me. They're kind of a team in North Mississippi that kind of flies under the radar outside of the Golden Triangle. Of course, you got Louisville, West Point, Starkville. Obviously, it's going to take most of the attention, but Tupelo's right there as well. And of those teams, you don't hear a lot about them. Of course, two state titles, but I was really surprised to see them in the top 10. I'm not going to lie to you. Top 15, yeah. But, I was surprised to see the model put them out at the number 9 spot.
Hey, Jared, what are your thoughts on the Golden Wave?
Yeah, guys, this was my biggest surprise out of the top 10. Only 2 state titles. To climb in the top 10 of the greatest of all time, you would think they would have to have, at least 3 or 4, and they didn't have that second one until last year. After, really they've won their only 2 championships since 1992. Ty Harden's got something to say about that in the future, but I think why we didn't think they would be in there is because of the championships, and they have not fared very well in the playoffs. But it's the 75 winning seasons that separates them from a lot of programs. That is 6th best all time. But again, a lot of those came in the early days. And then we oftentimes look at the playoff runs and say, well, Tupelo may have, fallen a little bit short. They obviously have overcome that the last couple of years, but they were my biggest surprise. But when you dive into the numbers, 64% overall win percentage, but those winning seasons, that is really what has separated them. Again, 6th all time.
Hey, so looks like I was the only one that thought Tupelo would be there, but maybe could be something to what Jake said, could be the recency bias, right? That's why the numbers here are great, because I'm just thinking, Tupelo's been pretty good, recently. And so that's why the numbers are better than just us thinking, maybe we should have some other teams in there. But that is Tupelo Golden Wave. And can I say I love the turf at Tupelo? If you ever done a game there, the blue turf, it's awesome. I will say this, we need to turn down the brightness on the scoreboard, because when we did Kosciuszko had to play a game there against Amory after Amory lost their stadium in the tornado or whatever. I couldn't look at the score. It was so bright. You couldn't see it. And so let's maybe turn the brightness down just a little bit. Tell the maintenance guy, let's turn down the brightness of the scoreboard just a little bit. Let's rock and roll. So coming in at number 8, going to be Noxubee County, the Tigers. At number 8 all-time blue blood program, 673 wins to 385 losses, 64 winning percentage. They have 58 winning percentage, 5 state championships, 16 district championships, 3 conference titles, 51 winning seasons, 26 losing seasons, 20 10-win seasons, 27 playoff appearances. How about 70 playoff wins to 22 playoff losses, which is a 76% winning percentage? And that goes down with a lot of that's going to be helped because they've made the state championship 3 years in a row. So that adds 15 games in the past years they've played in the playoffs, and they've gone 4-1, 4-1, 4-1 because they've lost the state championship 3 years in a row. But Noxubee County Tigers, just a blue blood program over there in East Mississippi. And so once again, I like our thing here. We'll start with Jake. What do you think about the guys over in Macon?
Just a kind of a note on this. The way this data is pulled together, we'll put all this on the website, is there are algorithms that we pulled and we were able to pull together and say, okay, hey, we take all this data, we're going to weight it versus, other data. It's a weighted program. So, I mean, you could take the data and you could, kind of churn this out differently and maybe get a little bit different results. But just to let you know how we did this, and we didn't just, kind of throw something against the wall and make it stick. I love Noxubee County though. When you look at Noxubee County, you're talking about a team that has had a ton of talent over the years. And you look at the coaches there, MC Miller, Tyrone Shorter, Teddy Young, at what he's been able to do over the last, 6 years, 58 to 25. You look at the great players that have come through Noxubee County, Jeffrey Simmons. You look right now, there's several at Mississippi State, a quarterback at Mississippi State as well. This is a proud program. It's one of those golden triangle staples. They have been around a long time. And to see them in the top 10, that is not surprising. This is a team that we very well could see in Starkville this year.
Yeah, and as I said, we've seen him the past 3 years, and Kamario Taylor is a guy that a lot of people have high hopes for in Starkville, as Jake mentioned. But Brandon, you're talking about this Noxubee County team, and first team started in 1921. But I can't the 70 wins in the playoffs is just mind blowing to me.
Well, yeah, and that's a good point. And people are going to look at this win percentage in regular season and say 58%. But once they get to the playoffs, it's hard to beat them. I mean, since 1995, you had MC Miller, Tyrone Shorter, and Teddy Young, 3 coaches that, MC Miller had 122 wins from 95 to 2009. Tyrone Shorter, who's now at Louisville, had 101 wins in his 8-9 years there. And Teddy Young, as Jake talked about, is just a fantastic coach that they just continue to win. And the talent that they have in that part of the country or the part of the state, they have a lot to pull from. There's not a lot of schools that they're having to share talent with. And I love Noxubee County. They're one of those schools, me being down from the coast area, we always knew they were one of those teams that you were going to see on statewide coverage of doing great things. So this is a great area and a great spot for them to be.
I love Noxubee used to be in Kosciuszko's district. I love going over to Noxubee to play because, as you mentioned, there's going to be full of athletes, but the people there, as nice as they can be, the guys are there cooking the food, and they tell us go get set up, come back down, and we'll give you a plate. And they got barbecue and they got everything. Those super nice folks over there in Noxubee County. But Shots, what is your thoughts about the Tigers?
Yeah, Jake talked about the talent influx and how they just reload over there. There's no rebuilding in Noxubee County. Kind of the opposite of Tupelo, guys. Tupelo has been so good in the regular season, they not so much in the playoffs over the years. Noxubee's the exact opposite. Brandon hit on that, the 58% winning percentage during the regular season. But I contribute that really to the teams they play. They'll match up with Louisville and West Point and Starkville. They are battle tested when they go into district play, and like Brandon said, they get in the playoffs and it's game on, man. They are really going to make a push for the state championship. Their playoff win percentage is in the top 10. It's the 3rd highest in the top 10 on this list. That's how good they've been in the playoffs.
Yeah, and shots hit on that. And if I can interject on that, they're going to play tough opponents every week. And that's why they had the coaches they've had, Miller, Shorter, Young. They are preparing those teams to get into the playoffs to win these games. That's why you're seeing such a high playoff percentage. So it's a different strategy. Some coaches are going to want to, put lesser talented teams on their schedule, but not at Knoxville. They'll play whoever. And that's why it's helped them in the long run.
So that's the first three in our Blue Bloods, our top programs of all time. You got McGee at number 10, Tupelo at number 9, and Knoxville County, the Tigers, coming in at number 8. That's the end of the first quarter. So just like if it was a regular football game, we're going to take a timeout, and when we come back, we'll have the second quarter. But this is the Varsity Voices podcast presented by Spire. If you want game-changing technology, then you need Spire on your team. 5G wireless, fiber home internet, and best in-class business solutions. Spire, customer inspired. We're back after this.
Delicious, savory barbecue doesn't happen by accident, and great wings don't happen by accident either. Whether you're heating up the smoker or firing up the grill, the award-winning crafted in Mississippi finishing sauces and marinades of the Oxford Falls makes every meal a masterpiece and every bite unforgettable. The Oxford Falls helps make every mouth-watering meal one to remember. Shop now at theoxfordfalls.com and get free shipping on orders over $100.
Hello, this is Rosie the Skunk for Atmos Energy. You might think I make a bad smell, but it's nothing compared to the rotten egg smell of a gas leak, because that could be dangerous. If you think you smell, see, or hear signs of a leak, don't do anything that might cause a spark. Leave immediately. Then call 911 and Atmos Energy. There's no gray area here. When dealing with gas leaks, it's black and white. For more information, visit atmosenergy.com/gas safety.
Genuine Mississippi, grown and raised and crafted, made. Genuine Mississippi.
Welcome back into the Varsity Voices podcast presented by Spire, part of the State Championships Radio Network, here in the Environment Masters studio. Hassle-free plumbing, electrical, and AC, which we all need because it is hot. It's Mississippi in August, right? It is hot. Or is it July, August, whenever this is. It's so hot I don't even know what day it is, right? So yeah, very, very hot. You can check them out at environmentmasters.com. And since they are our studio sponsor, I think each and every week, throughout the season, one of us might try to, show something in our studio, right? We're all kind of got our little podcast studio going on. So it'll be like a show and tell each week, and brought to you by Environment Masters, who sponsors our studios. But this second quarter is brought to you by Atmos Energy. Be sure to call 811 before you dig. We're continuing with the greatest programs ever, the greatest programs of all time, high school football in the state of Mississippi. We went 10, 9, and 8. It's coming in at number 7. We take a trip to the Crossroads over in the Mississippi Delta. The Clarksdale Wildcats coming in at number 7. How about 704 wins, 224 losses? That's a 62% winning percentage. 3 state titles, 20 district championships. They didn't have any conference titles, 78 winning seasons to 30 losing seasons, 16 10-win seasons. You have 34 playoff appearances, 48 playoff wins to 31 playoff losses, and the 61% playoff percentage. So let's go around the horn here. Jake Wim, what do you think about the Clarksdale Wildcats?
This is no shot when I'm fixing to sound Clarksdale. I kind of equate Clarksdale as a Nebraska of college football, and here's what I mean. When you start talking about all-time greats in college football, Nebraska is going to be right there in your top 20, your top 30 programs all time. However, a lot of that was front-loaded from, 20, 30 years ago. Clarksdale kind of falls right there as well. If you look at Clarksdale, you got to go back to 1966 to 1989. You look at Ronald Bennett, he was the head coach there, 146 wins. Then you look at Jimmy Hughes, 2002 to 2008. 63 wins there. And of course, you look at Henry Johnson, he had over 60 wins there as well. So the last memory that I have of Clarksdale was playing Brookhaven with Jimmy Johns back in the early 2000s at Memorial Stadium. So this is a program that has a lot of history. They're a proud program. They've won a lot of ball games. They've won some championships. However, the last 10 to 15 years, they've kind of fallen on some tough times for whatever reason. So, if I was to equate Clarksdale, definitely deserves to be in this list. This is kind of the Nebraska of Mississippi high school football for me.
Well, I mean, Jake, you kind of put, I wouldn't say you put words in my mouth, but you explained it the best way that I was trying to think it through. And I mean, I was struggling. And sitting here at number 7, I thought that maybe they would be more down around 10, maybe flip them and McGee around. It's the 704 wins. That's hard to shake a stick at. That's very impressive. But you talked about it. A lot of what they have been able to do was years ago. And you talked about Coach Bennett, and then Coach Jesse Murphy from 1993 to 2001 had 91 wins. So they have fallen on some tough times up there in the Delta. They are a very solid program, but they're solid. They hadn't been anything that scares you. And I'd say, in the past few years, if you see Clarksdale on your schedule, you're not really shaken or that intimidated. Whereas in the past, they were a little more dominant. But you can't discount 704 wins, 3 state titles. And, just another area, another part of the state where the community really gets behind the program. But you are definitely right, Jake. They do deserve to be in this list.
Yeah, I mean, Clarksdale, long history, right? I mean, 1912, a long time. And again, it's their body of work. And obviously, when we think of Clarksdale, we think, okay, well they've hit some rough times, but over their 100+ year history, they don't stay down very long. Their troughs don't last very long compared to other teams. 78 winning seasons. That's good for 3rd all time, and of course the 700+ wins. One of 5 programs again with over 700 wins. So that's what got them into this top 10 ranking.
We love Clarksdale. You know why I love Clarksdale? It's the birthplace of the Blues, right? But it's also the birthplace of one Breck Riley. Yeah, that's right.
Really?
That's right. I was born in Clarksdale. So yeah, I think I lived there until I was like 1, maybe, and then they moved. I think Lexington, then down to Jackson, and then on up to Kosciuszko. So if you have a problem with Breck Riley, it's Clarksdale's. But we went there. We had our radio Christmas party there this past year. We stayed over there. It was a great time. Went over to Morgan Freeman's place, and just a great place. Never been to the Mississippi Delta. Get over there. But that is Clarksdale, the Wildcats, coming in at number 7. Now we move on up the list, and we will get to number 6. And we're going to be sticking with the same animal, but we're going to go down to the southeastern portion of Mississippi, and it's the Meridian Wildcats coming in at number 6, 775 wins. So these teams over 700 wins. That's insane. 359 losses, 68% winning percentage, 3 state titles, 15 district titles. They got 14 conference championships, 84 winning seasons. They have 22 losing seasons, 27 10-win seasons, 32 playoff appearances, 42 playoff wins, 29 playoff losses, and 59% playoff winning percentage. So the Meridian Wildcats, and before I throw it to everybody else, I'll say this about Meridian. They might have my favorite stadium in the state of Mississippi, Ray Stadium. If you've never been there, it is awesome. Classic stadium. And as our pal that wrote the the book about all the high school football stadiums in Mississippi said that Elvis spent the night at Ray Stadium. So, I mean, when you got that claim to fame and you're a top 10 program in Mississippi, Jake, the Meridian Wildcats got a lot to brag about.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you talk about Meridian. I mean, Ray Stadium is an stadium I get an opportunity every other year, working with Brandon over the last 15 years to go and call ball games there. We've all been there at some point. It is a historic stadium, downtown Meridian. But when you talk about, Meridian, if we're staying with the college football mantra here, Meridian reminds me a lot of the Miami Hurricanes, and here's why. If you think about the Miami Hurricanes, they're definitely a top 20 program in college football. You look at Jimmy Johnson, you look at some of the other coaches that they had come through there, but they're trying to get back. Meridian is very similar. You look at Mac Barnes, 1978 to 1997, 169 wins for Meridian. We all remember Meridian, if you're old enough to remember. Tyler Russell beating South Panola, ending that winning streak down at the Vet back in 2008. You look at Larry Weems, he was the head coach there, 2006 to 2015, 107 wins. Excuse me, but this is a team that's trying to get back. They've fallen on hard times. You know, Marcus Boyles was able to come in there for a year and go 6-7, took them to a South State quarterfinal, but it's a program that's fallen kind of on hard times. Now, historically, one of the best programs in the state of Mississippi. I think, again, they deserve to be here. I would equate them again to the Miami Hurricane version for Mississippi high school football, and that they've done so much. It's a little bit ago. They're trying to get back there now.
I love Meridian. I tell you, Schatz and I called a Meridian Warren Central game there several years ago. And it's just, if you love history and you love football, this is the place that you need to go and observe a ball game. Just a beautiful location in the middle of Meridian. And this is a very historic program for you Southern Miss fans out there. One of the notable coaches is Pi Van, coached back at Meridian back in the 30s. Pi Van is on, I guess you would call the Ring of Honor down at Hattiesburg at the Rock. You'll see the name there up on the screen, and just a historic program, 68% win percentage. I was a little surprised that they only had 3 state titles, Jared, but this is a team that just continues year in, year out. Even when they've been down, Jake, they're a team that you always mention because of just the historical significance of the Meridian Wildcats.
Yeah, I'm with you, Brandon. Only the 3 state titles. That was kind of surprising to me, but it's, the 775 wins, ranking them second all time, which is just tremendous. They have had quite a history of winning, 84 winning seasons. That's also second best. So those 2 items definitely got these guys where they are in this top 10 list.
Meridian Wildcats coming in at number 6. I got a couple of things to say here. One about Pi Van, all-time great name. Whether it's football or hot dog eating contest, Pi Van's a great name. It's a great name. And doesn't Meridian have the blue turf now as well? Like Tupelo? Thought they have blue something. They have a different color turf now, I'm telling you. Something at Meridian, they have some different color.
Yeah, Dr. Cheyenne Trussell became the athletic director there, and they were going to do some renovations last time we were there. I think they were going to change the turf up, but I'm not sure if it's blue or not.
Yeah, there's some kind of different color over there in Meridian. But there it is. We made it through the top, or I should say half of the top 10 here on the greatest programs of all time high school football in Mississippi. So a quick recap: McGee at number 10, Tupelo at number 9, Noxubee County at number 8, Clarksdale at number 7, and Meridian at number 6. So that sounds the horn on the first half. We're going to move into halftime. Take a break, get some water. When we come back, we'll get down to the top 5 programs all time here in the state of Mississippi. You're listening to the Varsity Voices podcast presented by Spire. Your team has you covered on the field, and Spire has you covered everywhere else. With the best technology backed by local 24/7 support, Spire, customer inspired. We're back after this.
Mississippi farmers raise over 800,000 head of cattle each year. We take care of our livestock so you get what's good for your family on your table. We are only one of thousands, but we are united as one to grow the food, fiber, and shelter you need every day. Mississippi needs farmers. The farm families of Mississippi.
We chose to use Environment Masters for our maintenance needs. So I get the phone calls, it's time for your, checkup. We want to schedule you. I appreciate that. That's really helpful.
Our Priority 1 maintenance program gives us the chance to do in-depth maintenance twice a year. We fix small problems before they become big problems. We change filters, clean and calibrate your system so it operates safely and at peak efficiency, all included in your membership. That's hassle-free plumbing and AC.
Every job starts with the right equipment. At Empower Rental Group, we've got what it takes to get you moving fast Empower Rental Group has it all to get the job, large or small, done right. From pickup to delivery, we're your trusted local rental partner. Rent online at renterg.com. That's renterg.com. Or come by and talk to our friendly team today. Empower Rental Group, built for the job.
And we're getting ready for the second half kickoff here for the greatest programs of all time. And this third quarter is brought to you by Empower Rental Group. You deserve a better rental experience. RentERG.com. And one thing also I want to mention is that throughout the season and our podcast here, we're going to be giving away some swag to new subscribers. So subscribe on whichever platform you like, whether it's YouTube or Spotify, whatever platform you want to listen or find us on. And all that swag is going to be coming from College Corner Store with locations in Ridgeland, Flowood, and Oxford. So each week, a new subscriber will pick someone and we'll send you out something. But right now, you don't want to hear about that. You want to hear about the top 5 programs of all time. So we'll get the third quarter kicked off with the only 1A team to make the top 10, and that's the Taylorsville Tartars, coming in at number 5, 640 all-time wins to 259 losses, 71% winning percentage. They have 8 state titles, 31 district championships, 4 conference titles, 66 winning seasons to just 13 losing seasons, 30 10-win seasons to 39 playoff appearances, 92 playoff wins, 31 playoff losses. That's good for 75%. Now, obviously, we know about baseball in Taylorsville, right? We were at the state championships, was it last year? And they have a shirt that says Titletown. So they can do that for baseball. And now, apparently, they can do that for football, Jake. So a 1A team being in the top 10, that is the brag of all brags if you're a Taylorsville fan.
Oh, look, I think if you polled any Mississippian who kind of casually loves high school football and say, hey, give me one team that's going to be in your top 10, a lot of people's going to say Taylorsville, because Taylorsville, that name, the Tartar, the colors, everybody knows who that is. And, you look back at guys like Jason Campbell, who played at Taylorsville, who went on to have a great career at Auburn under Tommy Tuberville with Cadillac Williams, played for the Washington Redskins formerly. You look at Ty Keys, who just come through there just recently. This is a program that has nothing but winning tradition in every sport. We've seen it. We're blessed to be able to call high school baseball championships as well, for the MHSAA on our radio network here as well as basketball. They played for, championships in baseball, championships in basketball. You look at football, this is a team that, Matt Caldwell, even just 2 years there in 2012 to 15, had 41 wins. You look at Shannon White, 1998 to 06, 88 wins. Marcus Bowles with probably the most impressive performance there, which is unbelievable to say, 67-4, 1993 to 1997. The guy was 27-0 in district championship or district games, so to speak. So this is a program that has stood the test of times. This is a program that I think if you ask most Mississippians, they're going to say Taylorsville is one of your premier programs in Mississippi. I think our ratings show that as well.
Absolutely love this program, Jake. I mean, you talk about blue collar, bring your lunch pail to work every day type football program. That's what you get. You know that when you line up against the Tartars, it doesn't matter. They're going to hit you in the mouth. And that's just the way it's bred into the community down there. And you talked about some of the notable coaches, Shannon White, Coach Matt Caldwell, Mitch Evans, Marcus Bowles, one of the best coaches ever, in my opinion, in the state of Mississippi. Some trivia for you kids out there. Marcus Bowles has coached for 30 years in this state, and he's only had one losing season to his name, and that was a 6-7 season. And the reason he was 6-7 was because a playoff loss put in with that 7th loss. So just a whole carousel of outstanding coaches that have come through that program. And, to me, I thought they would be a little bit higher. I thought, when I think of Taylorsville, I think of top 2, top 3, to be honest with you, just because of the name. But a very, very good program there in South Mississippi.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the numbers love small schools too, right? And Taylorsville fits that bill. All they do is win, like Jake said, in multiple sports. 8 state championships, that sticks out. 90-plus playoff wins, but I think the number that really got them into where they're at is those 31 district titles. That leads the entire state. Nobody has won their district more in football than Taylorsville.
Yeah, and another person that played at Taylorsville, when Jake mentioned the athletes, you had Billy Hamilton, right? He played football and baseball, obviously known more for baseball, but he played, as is the case in a lot of 1A schools where most of the guys all play this, multiple sports. But yeah, they turn out athletes down there in Taylorsville. So they come in at number 5 on the all-time great programs in the state of Mississippi. Now let's get up to the top 4, and the rest of these that are on the list, there are going to be no surprises. You're already thinking, people right now are like, I wonder, they probably have an idea who the top 4 are. They're just trying to figure out who's placed where. But coming in at number 4, the South Panola Tigers, obviously, this might be the first one where people are like, thought they might have been a little higher. Not that the number 4 is bad, but, for a long time, South Panola was the team. There's a reason they call them the University of South Panola. 636 wins, 256 losses, 71% winning percentage, 11 state championships, 21 district titles, 2 conference championships, 65 winning seasons to just 13 losing seasons, 23 10-win seasons, 35 playoff appearances, 67 playoff wins, 24 playoff losses. That's a 74% playoff winning percentage. So, Jake, they know all about some football up there in South Panola. And as I said, that's kind of, for a long time, they were the team, and they were playing on ESPN and all of that. So South Panola, when you think of football, Mississippi football, they got to be one of the first you think about.
And you're absolutely right, Breck. And guys, this is one of those teams where, and you would be right in thinking this if you're watching this and you're thinking, wait a minute, they should be number 1. This is the recency bias. They had the streak. They had all of the titles. They were on ESPN. They were playing Hoover. They were doing all of these things. All of that is true. But again, that's why we put this thing into a model and said, hey, and Jared had a great idea along with Caleb and Brandon and Breck and said, hey, let's look at the accumulation of programs over time. And that's what we did here. South Panola, of course, they're a wonderful program. That's why they're inside the top 5. But you look back at this program, and yes, you're absolutely right. When you start looking at this program in its entirety, Ricky Woods comes to mind, 2002 to 2006, 74-1. We know what this program did. Lance Pogue picked this program up. They did not struggle much at all. 126-17. Ricky Woods comes back again, 44-17. Look, even Brooks Oakley, 28-8 from the last 3 years. And this doesn't even, really touch what this program has done. So you're talking about, as Breck said, you call them the University of. There is a reason this is a program that is, bathed in Mississippi football history. They deserve to be here. Love South Panola, and I think their work is unfinished.
Yeah, and again, we've hit on it time after time. This is the whole body of work here. And you look at South Panola for the past 30 years is really where they have been a dominant program. But, like I said, they started playing ball back in 1928. So they had not some down years. They had some good years during that. But it was Coach Ed Stanley when he came into play. Willis Wright was a very effective coach as well. But Ed Stanley since then has been, the program's been very dominant. And, I love South Panola. They're a great program. Not quite as dominant the past couple of years that we've seen. Don't get me wrong. Brooks Oakley is a fantastic coach, but they're just not quite as dominant. It may be, some of the talent's not there. They may be, going to other schools. But here's a stat that I really like about South Panola district record, Jake, 233-39. I tell you what, Shots, if you put a program that has won 233 games, only lost right at 40 district games, that's pretty dominant as you would expect.
Yeah, that number definitely sticks out. And like, when we told people we were doing this podcast and this was our first episode of All Time Greats, Yeah, I mean, I got the same reaction. Well, South Panola is number one, right? You don't have to even go, tell people about that, right? Panola, of course. And yeah, if we're talking the last, like you said, Brandon, 30 years, last quarter of a century, yeah, Panola's number one. There's no doubt. But again, Jake and the crew did a great job of body of work. South Panola, 11 state titles. That's third all time, which is terrific. 74% playoff win percentage. That is fifth best all time of the top 10. And yeah, I mean, they're trying to find themselves right now. But look, we talked about Meridian and kind of the nostalgia you get when you go there. Heck, if you go to South Panola, they've got the indoor facility with a corporate sponsor on the side. You think they've done pretty well the last few years? I'd say so.
Yeah, South Panola, as we said, that's one of those just synonymous with Mississippi football. Growing up, they're the team. They were the standard. And as you guys said, kind of, not that they have been bad, they just haven't been up to their standard lately. And it might be that the other folks have, kind of had to increase their competition, right? They've had to increase their play because South Panola was just dominating so often there. So that is number 4 and number 5. South Panola at 4, Taylorsville at number 5, and then there were 3. And once again, I know that the wheels are turning out there, and everybody's probably figured out who the top 3 are. Maybe they just kind of wonder what the order is. Well, we're going to tell you what that order is when we come back here to the Environment Masters studio. Visit them at environmentmasters.com. It wraps up the third quarter, our big finale, the top 3 programs of all time in the state of Mississippi. Back after this on the Varsity Voices podcast.
Never settle when building or remodeling your home. You may think you can't afford brick, but you can. For less than $1 a day, you can own a full brick home. The money you save on painting, heating, and cooling costs, along with lower insurance, will put money back in your pocket. Go to CherokeeBrick.com to see how affordable brick really is. Spend less, save more on the look you want. Cherokee Brick. Life's just better with brick.
3rd and 6 from the 40-yard line.
Sure you're ready for this?
He takes a snap, drops back.
What's the right situation for a flea flicker?
They should have been in nickel defense.
There's a nickel and a dime?
Now for a proper bull rush start from 3-point stance.
What a disastrous play call.
Ready or not, here we go.
Hey, Dad.
You can call me Coach.
It's amazing what C-Spire's nationwide 5G network can connect. C-Spire, inspired by you.
And we're back here for the finale, fourth quarter. Top 3 programs of all times in football in the state of Mississippi. This segment built by Cherokee Brick, America's most trusted brick supplier. And when I tell you the teams that are here in the top 3, they laid some bricks. They have laid the foundation for football in the state of Mississippi. We're going to do it a little differently because it's the top 3, and we're being a little thematic with everything. So first up, we'll start with number 3, and before we reveal it, we'll tell you maybe some stats and everything, some of their numbers, and maybe you can think to yourself who it is. But that 655 wins all time to 408 losses. They have 13 state titles. They have 20 district championships, 65 all-time winning seasons, 22 10-win seasons. They have 80 playoff wins and just 29 playoff losses, and that's an 81 playoff winning percentage. So have your thinking cap on? You know who that is? Well, I can go ahead and tell you, up in Northeast Mississippi, the Golden Triangle, West Point Green Wave, the number 3 team or program of all time. And Jake, we might be hearing some glass shattering out there, people thinking that West Point might have should have been number 1. And I think, Jake, maybe you had been one of those people.
I would have. I mean, and here's the deal. I helped write the algorithm that we did this. And if I was just doing this off the cuff and, hey, look, I know people in West Point right now are probably, as you said, Breck, they're probably like, are you kidding me?
Trying to find
like,
out where
we're
we
not
live.
Number one. Yeah, I'd have put you number one too. But again, the way the algorithm weights things, and look, all the top three are really well deserving. West Point is a team that we know that, I mean, almost annually they're going to punch a ticket to wherever the state championship is played. They've got so many great players, so many great coaches. They've run the same style of offense over the last 30 years. They haven't changed a whole lot, even with the Morgan as a head football coach. I mean, you look back now with what Brett Morgan has done, Chris Chambliss prior to him, Dennis Allen, 1999 to 2005, he won 52 wins. Only Tom Good Jr., 1998, 1-10. I mean, you can't find a lot of blemishes, and that's not picking at Tom Good Jr. You can't find a lot of blemishes on this program. I would have put them at number one. The two in front of them that we'll talk about, they are well deserving as well. West Point, by far, one of the classes in Mississippi high school football. I mean, that's your Alabama, Ohio State, that's your Georgia, that's your Texas, that's your Notre Dame of Mississippi high school football.
I'm going to be one to not play devil's advocate, but I think they should be number one just because Brett Morgan's my buddy and he's the head coach up there. Congratulations on that title last year, buddy. But
nepotism.
If you really, yeah, absolutely. But if you break it down and look at it, this team, Jake, they were good. Don't get me wrong. Dennis Allen, you talked about him, 1999 when he came in, 52 wins, 2005. But the story of West Point is Chris Chambliss, rightfully so. 206 wins. From the time, of course, Brett picked it up and, it's taking it from where it's at. You're really getting down to splitting hairs when you get to these final three because they're all outstanding programs. Again, I would put West Point up above, as Breck said, nepotism, but I think they might be where they need to be.
All right, guys. So crazy topic here. Found out some information that Mississippi had 2 nuclear bombs detonated on its soil back in the 60s. You can look that up. Well, the third one's about to go off right now because West Point's going to be really ticked. But, looking at the numbers, and they are my favorite program as far as the way they play ball. I think Jake talked about that with the traditional offense and now Coach Morgan taking over for Coach Chambliss. But the only blemish I could find in their resume as to maybe why they did not get in the top 2 is I was really surprised to see they had the most losing seasons of anyone in the top 10, and they came in with 30, which was, of course, leading the way, and not in a good way. But other than that, everything is tremendous. The playoff win percentage at 81%, ridiculously good. And then obviously the most state championships after they won that state championship last year. But yeah, those 30 losing seasons is what hurt West Point a little bit in the final rankings.
I'll say a couple of things about West Point is my buddy, he used to coach there, and he said West Point's the only place that, they have the banner that has like championships in 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever it is. He said West Point's the only place when they put up a new one, they go ahead and put a comma after it because they know another one's coming. That's what they do in West Point because they know it's coming. And also, we got to give a big shout out to our good old pal, Bud Bowen. Woohoo! Mercy, long-time voice of the West Point Green Wave. He's hung it up now, but Bud, a legend, doing it for what? It started in like 1977, and then last year, or 23 was his final year, or 22 was his final year. So yeah, definitely a tip of the cap. Hopefully, all of us can stay doing it for that long. But yeah, tip of the cap to our pal, Bud Bowen, the former voice of the West Point Green Wave. So now, down to the final 2. And it's like I said, I think people probably sorted out who these 2 are. And these 2 teams are just like West Point. They're just one of those programs in Mississippi that you think, when you think of football, you think of these 2 programs. So we're going to do sort of a look at Team A and Team B, sort of side by side there, and we'll do a little bit of a comparison for Team A and Team B. Team A has 833 wins all time. Team B has 769 wins to 328 losses for Team A, 287 losses for Team B. So technically, Team B has a better winning percentage, 73-72. The Team A has 12 state championships. Team B has 7. 21 district championships for Team A. Team B with 18 district championships. Conference championships for Team A, 10-19 for Team B. How about 90 winning seasons for Team A, 83 for Team B. Just 15 losing seasons for Team A to 12 for Team B. And then we'll skip over, get over here to playoff wins for Team A. I mean, this is a number that's just dwarfing everybody else. You're talking about 103 playoff wins for Team A to 64 for Team B, to just 31 playoff losses for Team A and 29 playoff losses for Team B. 77% winning percentage and a nice 69% winning percentage for Team B. So people are thinking, who is Team A and who is Team B? Well, we'll go ahead and tell you that Team B is number 2 on the list, and that would be the Starkville Yellow Jackets, another team there in the Golden Triangle. And for everybody else talking about their surprises, this is the one that surprised me the most. And not that it surprised me that they were number 2. I thought they would be top 5, but I thought they would be more closer to 5 than 2, right? Because I figured that was just it. But they've got some really, really good numbers, Jake, and no one's going to be shocked that Starkville Yellow Jackets are number 2.
Hey, and yes, 1,000%. If I was doing this just off the cuff, Starkville would not be in my top 3. They would be in my top 10 for sure. But when you really start looking at the numbers, and Breck, you laid that out, as always, perfectly. When you start talking about Starkville and what they did, look, there is a reason John Carr left Clinton, former UL Monroe wide receivers coach who coached in college, was Clinton last year, and he's now at Starkville. He knows what's going on at Starkville, the history of Starkville. You go and start talking about consistency over time. 1966, 1974, Jim Craig won 73 ball games. You look at 1986 to 1993, Tommy Lucas won 62 ball games. Chuck Friend, 1994 to 2081 ball games. Look, you can go through here. You're talking about Jamie Mitchell, 51 wins. Chris Jones, 84 wins, who's now at Hines. This is a program that has stood the test of times. They have had coach after coach after coach come through. They have won a lot of ball games. They have won a lot of championships. I think being stuck in the Golden Triangle with some of the bigger stories, kind of the records that West Point has as far as number of state championships. We look at some of the other programs in the Golden, Noxubee and some others. Starkville kind of comes in and they come out. They have just been the epitome of consistency, which is, I think, why they're number 2.
And I think, Jake, I think that's the reason why I'm kind of surprised. I wouldn't have them at number 2. I'd have them around more toward my, bottom part of my top 10. But maybe it's the consistency is the reason why I'm kind of surprised that they are where they are. There's no window dressing or anything fancy about this program. They just show up and they win ball games. And he talked about it. Chris Jones takes over for Ricky Woods. And you had Jamie Mitchell, and you had Bill Lee. Coach Bill Lee won a state title back in 2001, which, by the way, I actually coached for Bill Lee at Armstrong Middle School back in 2001. I had nothing to do with a 14-1 record at the high school, but that is just another little nugget for you all. But it's just, there's nothing fancy about this program. They just show up and they win. And you talked about it, the success they had. John Carr left a good thing that he was building at Clinton to come up here to Starkville to continue to build what they have. But I'm really surprised to see Starkville here, but they definitely are worthy of being in the top 5.
Yeah, I would say it's a surprise they were as high as 2, and they checked the boxes like you guys said. 700 wins, over 700 wins. They have the highest overall win percentage of the top 10 at 73%. 33 10-win seasons, that's more than anyone in the state of Mississippi. second most winning seasons with 83. I mean, you just check the boxes as you go down, and they're tied for fifth, obviously, with those 7 state championships. But I'll tell you the number that when we dug into it, and this is why I love that we included everything, including those conference championships before we got into the modern era. And I know people aren't a huge fan of that, but look, they were still playing competition. They were playing by the same rules, and they won 19 conference championships before the MHSAA put it into the playoff format back in 1981.
Crazy.
And I really believe it's those 19 conference championships that got them to number 2.
That's crazy.
Starkville Yellow Jackets coming in at number 2. And before we get to number 1, I'm picturing Coach Brandon Davis coaching at middle school with your guys' dads ever wear those softball coach shorts that like come up to here, right? It had the double button.
Look, I'm not going to confirm or deny. I'm not going to say nothing. And I shouldn't have said anything to you jackals because now y'all going to make fun of me. But yes, I had zero success to do though. Yeah,
Coach.
You
Davis,
can tell I'm not coaching now, so I wasn't that good, right?
He's rocking.
Did you have a mullet at that time? I know we don't have any hair now, but did you have a mullet?
Oh man, what are you talking about? I'm from Greene County, but originally, I did.
Born with a mullet.
Yes.
Greene County.
Hey, one more thing on Starkville, guys. One more thing. They only have 12 losing seasons in their entire history. That's the best in the state. That's hands down the best.
Yeah, and I'm glad you pointed that out. Again, they're there every year, and you expect them to be there. So even though I'm surprised they're in the top 5, it's just like Starkville, and that's no knock on them. Don't get me wrong. It's just that nothing surprises you with this month. Nothing's flashy, I guess, is the thing about them.
So Starkville coming in at number 2. That's the number 2 all-time greatest program in the state of Mississippi. So now we're looking at number 1, and there's people shouting at their screen right now, their tablet, their phone, whatever they're watching or listening on. And as I said, most people that know Mississippi football probably sorted this one out. As far as me, when we started doing this is the team that I thought off the top of my head, that's number 1. Without a doubt. I didn't even have to look at any numbers. I said, they got to be number 1. And to present the number 1, Farm Families of Mississippi present the greatest program of all time. Mississippi needs farmers. And you know what they don't need in Louisville? Anything else to brag about, because that's the number 1 program of all time. And everybody's face is their shocked face. Right, because it's Louisville. I mean, as I said, everyone knows. Everyone knows. They would have been tied with West Point in championships, save for a missed 2-point conversion. I don't want Louisville fans throwing anything at me and they had last year in Hattiesburg. But kudos to Coach Shorter for going for it there. That was their first ever loss in the state championship game. But when you talk about the blue blood, it is Louisville. And I'm from Kosciuszko, so I get to see them every year. I get to see Louisville, what they do every single year, and it's a great program. If you've never been to a game over at Louisville, they do it right. You can go over there and you can see them all tailgating. They back the cars up over there in the out there at R.E. Hines Stadium or field or whatever. And it's just a fun. When you think of football towns, you think of Louisville.
Yeah, guys, when you look at Louisville, and I'm sitting here looking at some numbers, and you think about some of the great, obviously, as we all do, we get the chance to work the state championship games, and I talk with Tyrone Shorter almost every year, it seems like, on the side set there for the Individuals Network, and I joke with him and say, hey, every time we sit down, it's a championship. Now, obviously, as you said, Breck, last year with Jay Beach and Poplar winning that championship in an unbelievable walk-off win, that's the only blemish, but you look back at MC Miller and what he was able to do, 96 wins to 32 losses there. Brad Peterson, 2005 to 2009 before he came to Brandon, 42 wins. You look back at Tony Stanford, 1995 to 02. You can scour it. If there was a Nick Saban coaching tree of coaches in the state of Mississippi, you could go to Louisville, because so many great coaches have come out of Louisville. And look, not just coaches, players, media members. I mean, our good friend, shout out Robbie Falk, who works for On3 Sports with Paul Jones. You can go down the road here from media people to football players to coaches. Louisville is the epitome of high school football in the state of Mississippi, and I have no problem with them being crowned number 1.
I love the Nick Saban coaching tree reference because, I mean, two coaches you did mention that are certainly worthy of being mentioned, Mike Justice and also Bobby Hall, both that have, were at Louisville. They've been other places as well, but two of the guys that helped build, what Madison Central has, going down there to Madison to build that program up. And I was surprised to see the coaches on this list, just a whole plethora of fantastic coaches. And yet you guys were right. They were a toe away. And when I say toe, I'm not joking, folks, a toe away from winning a state title last year to bringing them up to number 13. But I mean, there's not much more you can say. This is certainly the epitome of high school football in the state of Mississippi. They are fantastic at everything they do, and they just continue to win. And it's, and like Breck was saying too, the community buys into what they're doing up there, and that makes a world of difference. So congratulations to Louisville.
Yeah, just something in the water up there. They check every box. 700 wins, 90 winning seasons. That's the most in the state. Only 15 losing seasons. We talked about Starkville only having 12. Louisville, that's really the only category they trail in that little department. 21 district titles. It's the 29 10-win seasons. They would be tied for the most state championships if it was not for that toe on the line last year, that ball game against Poplarville. So they're one behind West Point at this point, but those two keep going back and forth. They have for years. And here's the stat I think that really got them to number one is they just blow everybody out of the water with those 103 playoff wins. I mean, they're the only team over the century mark as far as playoff wins, and the next closest is Taylorsville with 92. And I think those 103 playoff wins just separates Louisville from everybody. And then you talk about the coaching tree. So much tradition. I mean, all they do is win, and they do it at a high level better than anybody else.
Yeah, Louisville Wildcats, the number one greatest program of all time, the blue blood program in Mississippi high school football. As we said, that's presented by Farm Families of Mississippi. Mississippi needs farmers. And what's great about the top three, those teams play each other every year. Like week one, it's Louisville and West Point. This year, it's week one. And so those teams routinely just play each other. So the old iron sharpens iron, right? And so, yeah, Louisville, Starkville, West Point, 1, 2, and 3. And rounding out the top five, South Panola at 4, Taylorsville at number 5, Meridian number 6, Clarksdale number 7, Noxubee County is number 8, Tupelo is number 9, and McGee is number 10. So before we get to our overtime, because, it's free football. We love free football in the regular season, whatever. We are going to have an overtime period. Anything else you guys want to talk about out of the top 10 before we go?
No, I will just say this. I think this top 10 is the epitome of what we see week in and week out on a Friday night in high school football in the state of Mississippi. And look, there's so many more teams that are really good teams in the state of Mississippi. And this just shows you how great, just a microcosm of how great the high school football is in the state of Mississippi. If you're a Mississippian and regardless if your team was in the top 10 or not, be proud of your state, be proud of your football. It is everything that you thought it would be. It's everything that you think that it is. It is wonderful football, pound for pound, some of the best football in the country.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is I thought we did a really good job of really compiling these numbers. That took a while for all the programs. If you go onto the website and you'll see where we ranked everybody in the MHSAA, except for a couple teams that just joined the MHSAA recently. But I thought Jake did a great job of weighting that, and we collaborated. What does this look like? And there was no bias. We just put the numbers in, and it spit out the results. And I learned a lot about Mississippi high school football. I thought I knew a lot. I learned a lot more. And I'm really proud of this list. And I think it's one that everybody, when they see the numbers and they hear kind of our points with it, they'll kind of understand how this was all built.
So that's the top 10, but we don't want to leave out, other ones because there are some other programs that we want to talk about and some interesting, caveats there. So we will do that in our overtime period. This is the Varsity Voices podcast presented by C Spire. The best teams know how to get even better. See how C Spire constantly enhances their wireless, fiber, internet, and business solutions for you. C Spire, customer inspired. We'll be back with overtime right after this.
Fowler GMC, our customers have been our priority for over 70 years. That same dedication happens today as we offer a wide range of options to cater to every taste and budget. Whether you're looking for a luxurious and versatile SUV or a powerful truck, we have it all. Our knowledgeable team is here to assist you every step of the way, and we are committed to providing fast and courteous service. Visit us today and experience the difference for yourself. Trust, service, and selection. Fowler GMC.
From our view on this farm, food security is national security. Our nation must have a sustainable food source. Keeping the supply chain moving and food on our grocery store shelves by growing the cleanest food in the world.
We're only one of thousands, but we are united as one to grow the food, fiber, and shelter you need every day because Mississippi needs us. Mississippi needs farmers, the farm families of Mississippi.
And we're back for overtime here on the Varsity Voices podcast. This overtime segment is driven by Fowler GMC and the drive to the championship. Sense and Pearl built their reputation on trust, serving Mississippi since 1953. And here in the overtime period, we're going to give some love to those just outside of the top 10, 11 through 25. It'll be there on your screen, and we're just all going to take a little moment to kind of say what was jumped out to us. For me, it is the Forest Bearcats coming in at number 15. Now, Forest, obviously, they have 4 state titles. It's nothing to shake a stick at, but this is not one of those things that you think of, when you think of blue bloods in Mississippi. Nothing against Forest. It's just not someone that I would have thought would have been in the 25. But it's a great place. Another one of those towns that really embraces what they do. I've done some games there personally. One of my favorite press boxes is there in Forest because they put you on the very top, and it's a nice place. But yeah, the Forest Bearcats. That's what stuck out to me at number 15. So Jake, what about you?
I'm going to go right outside the top 10. I'm going to go Philadelphia, man. The Tornadoes at number 11, 658 wins. They have 3 state championships. They have a winning percentage of 65%, which is a little percentage point higher than Tupelo that's in our top 10. Also higher than Noxubee County, higher than Clarksdale. You start looking at some of the numbers and you could make a case for Philadelphia, a team that, when you start looking back at some of the, big time, coaches at this program for Philadelphia, Teddy Dice, 2007 to 17, 115 wins. David Pride, 2019 to 23, 32 wins. Marcus Dupree, who played, obviously at Philadelphia. You look at Bob Posey, 1957 to 1966, 60 wins. It's just been kind of a downtrodden program over the last couple of years. They don't have the championships that some of these others have. They're a smaller program, a smaller school, kind of in the lines of Taylorsville, kind of in that quasi flex portion of, size for as far as student ratio and such. But give me Philadelphia, man. They come in at number 11. This is a team that's got a lot of history, a very proud program.
I tell you, Jake, a team that really surprised me being in the top 25 is the Warriors of Senatobia, Mississippi. Way up in North Mississippi, this is a team that's had a winning percentage of 71%, 1 state title to their name. And I think that's really what's hurting them and putting them further down the list. But 63 winning seasons, only 7 losing seasons. But this is a team that has done great in the regular season. They get to the playoffs, they struggle a little bit. But going all the way back to 1970, Dale Burt was the head coach from 1970 to 1989, won 151 games. Jerry Barrett, 102 wins. Phil Oakley had won 91 games. Michael Fair, who's now at Grenada, outstanding coach, he was there in 2014 and 15. He won 16 games. And Brooks Oakley, he carried them to a state title game. They lost to Columbia, and just an outstanding game between those two. And then Carter Norris, he's been there for the past couple of years. He's won 26, 27 games. So Senatobia, a team you don't hear much about, but they really play good football up North Mississippi, and they're sitting there at number 25.
The guys, the one that kind of stands out to me is not that Picayune's in the top 20, but the fact that they're at 16. I thought they'd be a little bit higher on this list with their 7 state championships, but when you dive into the numbers with Picayune, I think it's those 26 losing seasons that put them a little further down on the list than what I really was expecting to see them at. But you're looking at a couple more. Brandon in there at 18, and you got to think if you're the Bulldogs, if they just win one of those state championships the last few years, really going back to Peterson in 2012, where maybe they beat Panola, or the last 3 out of 4 years that they've been in the state championship, they could have jumped up higher. And then you have Madison Central. That's another one that really caught my eye. They've only been playing ball since 91. Madison Central has the highest winning percentage in the state of Mississippi, just absolutely incredible at 74%. And the Jaguars, they're kind of thinking the same thing like Brandon. If they get a couple of North State titles and get past Panola a couple more times, they probably have a couple more trophies in the trophy case. But Madison Central, only one losing season out of 34 years of football. Pretty impressive that they're in number 20 with only 34 seasons of ball played.
And one more thing I wanted to mention was that we talked about we had a 1A team up in the top 10. We had a couple of 3A teams, couple of 4A teams, 5A, couple of 3-7A. The highest ranked 2A team, Mize, the Bulldogs, at 29, and right behind them another 2A team in Scott Central. So that's where you have to go when you're looking at the 2A squads. And maybe quickly touch on Jared or Jake. Someone asked me, how are you going to rank the teams that would have been? Because I'm right down the road from a program that was just a couple of programs that were great. That would be the Durant Tigers and the Ware Lions, and they're not teams anymore because they consolidated. So how did that play into quickly? How did that kind of play into the numbers for that?
Yeah, guys, it's one of those that was tough because you've got a program. I think the number one program that we came to obviously was Bassfield. I mean, just incredible the numbers they've put up, and JDC has picked up right where Bassfield left off. But as far as those programs, if they consolidated and kept their name, kept their brand, we kept them as a current team. But if they consolidated and changed the name of their school at that point, we, I guess, for a lack of better words, retired them from the metrics. And that's kind of how we came up with that. I can really feel people in Bassfield very upset with me right now. But if you here, all right, so here, bringing up that point, Breck, and jumping back, we'll jump back to these teams that maybe didn't qualify. But even with Bassfield not being eligible, JDC sits. This is probably the most incredible. They haven't been around, but 15 years or so.
No, JDC, not even that long.
Not even that long. JDC has they're number 23 on the list. That's how dominant and that's how quickly they have picked things up since Bassfield went away.
Yeah, 2016 was Bassfield's last season, so that you're right, Jared. Very remarkable seeing them in the top 25.
And a few more, as we mentioned, Durant, Ware, Ackerman, the Waynesboro. You kind of helped go into Wayne County, East Side, and Cleveland Central, and all those teams. You have some like Carthage that were Carthage, Edinburgh, and Thomastown went into League Central. So it's just sort of a thing, as Jared mentioned, kind of hard to decide what to do with some of those, but that's sort of the best, what we thought was the best thing to do is to just retire them as a program. But we definitely wanted to give them a shout out because you can't talk about high school football in Mississippi without talking about the Ware Lions, or as Jared said, you're talking about Bassfield, because those are just two programs that, once again, really embrace what they do. The communities embrace them, and like Friday nights, you cut off the lights at the restaurant because everybody's going to be at the field, right? So you had to talk about some of those. So that is a look at what we called it, what could have been. I think that's kind of what our terminology was for those teams. But that's our show here on this first week of the high school, or I should say the Varsity Voices podcast presented by Spire. And if you want to know what your team looks like, maybe you're up in North, maybe you're a Boonville, or maybe you're a Moss Point. Moss Point's one of those teams, right? People thinking they're pretty good. Where are they? We got the whole list. It's going to be online for you at scrn.live. So scrn.live, that's where you go, and you'll be able to see your where your team landed in this. Once again, only MHSAA programs. We said that at the top of the broadcast. Any final thoughts from you guys before we sign off here from our very first show?
I'll just start here and say, hey, look, I'm pleased to be a part of what we're doing here. Thanks to Jared and Caleb and Breck and Brandon. I know we've got other people that are part of what we do as we get to the state championship games and part of the state championship network. Mississippi high school football is so fun. It's such a great thing. That's why we're here doing this. We'd love it. We want you to interact with us. We want you to, be a part of what we're doing here. That's why we're doing it for you guys. Cannot wait for this year. There's so many storylines that we're going to dive into. There's coaches that we're going to get into. There's ball games, obviously, pick'ems. And, I know Jared's done a great job, setting this thing up. It is going to be a fantastic football season. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I mean, echoing Jake, I'm so blessed to be a part of this. There's so many better deserving people, more talented people that should be with this. But for some reason, here I am, and I'm just so glad to be here. For you coaches out there, hope you enjoy this. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. I want to promote your offensive lineman. The offensive lineman is always a position that is kind of put under the radar, under the table, not a very glamorous group. So if you have star offensive lineman that you think's under the radar, that 5'9" center that's got a bunch of dog in him, I want to know about him so we can promote him here on this platform. Whatever we can do to help our kids out during this NIL transfer portal phase, whatever we can do to promote them, lift them up, we want to hear from you. So just looking forward to being a part of this effort throughout the season.
Yeah, got a great team here to really, put this podcast action out every week, but really it's going to be the coaches, the teams, the players, the fans. We want you to really drive this show. We'll give you the content if you'll send it our way. We'll put it out there in a professional manner. And I thought this was a great first show. But, yeah, we want to get your plays of the week. Everybody's streaming. If you have a crazy play or a kid that wants to be recognized, we want to see it. And this is just the beginning of that. We will be crowning a player of the week as well. So any crazy stat lines that you have out there, eye-popping stat lines, we want to see it right here on this Varsity Voices podcast. And, guys, I'm looking forward to it. Great job for episode number 1.
And if you want to find us, look for us on X, Twitter, whatever you call it, at State Champ Radio. And we're also on Facebook, State Championships Radio Network. And we don't want to forget about Caleb Hamill. He's been in our ear. He's our producer, going to be putting everything together. Can't leave him out. He is doing a great job. Just wanted to make sure that Caleb gets that recognition as well. Well, that's our first show here on the Varsity Voices podcast presented by Spire. We look forward to being back with you each and every week throughout the football season. Our next show, we're going to be previewing the 2025 football season. We'll have our picks maybe for all the championships. We'll talk about some players we're excited to watch and all of that. So that's going to be fun on the next episode of the Varsity Voices podcast presented by Spire. We'll see you then.
Genuine Mississippi, grown and raised and crafted, made. Genuine Mississippi.